right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Hi, everybody. My name is Alan from Digital Drafting Systems, and thank you for being here today for our real-time rendering and VR in Revit webinar. We're very excited to be working with Dan from Enscape today, and we're looking forward to what we've got coming your way. We're excited to bring you this webinar, and we are proud to be an Enscape partner, and we hope that you keep us in mind for your future Enscape needs. Dan, can I have you jump over to the next slide for me to go over some logistics?
Sure.
All right, so just so everybody knows, all attendee lines will be muted throughout this presentation. And we ask that you please send us your questions via the chat box. And know that this webcast will be recorded and we will be uploading it to our YouTube channel. And if you registered for this webcast, which most of you should have, you'll actually be receiving a link to that video as well. And again, for any questions, concerns, anything like that, you can always give us a call here at the office at 305-445-6480 or email us at info@ddscad.com. So without any further delay, I am proud to introduce Daniel Monaghan from Enscape to talk about real-time rendering and VR in Revit with Enscape. Dan, take it away.
Thank you very much, Alan. Yeah, thank you. So thank you guys for tuning in to today's presentation. I'm super excited about our partnership with DDS-CAD, and I'm really happy to be working with Alan and the entire DDS-CAD team. They're a real super organization, and I'm very pleased to be here today. As Alan said, my name is Dan Monaghan, and I'm the business leader for Enscape in the Americas. I'm going to take the next 20 minutes or so to introduce you to Enscape and talk about how real-time 3D is changing today's building design process. Now, the presentation that I prepared today is a pretty high-level presentation. If you're already using Enscape, you might find the presentation a little elementary. It's not a problem. If you want to take a deeper dive into the software or anything that I show you today, just simply contact your DDS-CAD rep and we can set something up for you. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So real-time rendering, when we think of real-time rendering, it's typically images like these that come top of mind. However, more subtle and maybe more important is how real-time 3D can improve today's design process. Visual representation has always been the cornerstone of the design practice. However, it's often been isolated and disconnected from the design process. Today's process is fractured. We stop design in order to represent, we collect feedback, then manually coordinate what we learned back into our designs, and then we restart the cycle at the next project milestone. But why? Why does rendering and visualization have to be separate from design? Why can't it be integrated? Well, with traditional rendering technology, it can take hours or sometimes even days to get at a high quality visualization. Correctly configuring textures and materials and lighting to achieve a realistic result is difficult and demands specialized know-how, and even then it can require a lot of trial and error. As a result, in many firms, rendering and 3D visualization, it's a task reserved for presentation, right? And it's really relegated to specialists in the firm using specialty visualization software, or in some cases, it's even subbed out completely. Real-time 3D is different. This next generation of visualization, it's leveraging new advances in graphics card technology, the same technology that you'll find in today's high-end video games. And while the results are incredibly impressive, more importantly, the results are instant and very easy to achieve. It's this speed and the simplicity that are the cornerstones to Enscape. Quite simply, Enscape is the easiest way to go from this to this. Now, for us, speed and use, it's not jargon. These are really truths, and they're derived from the fact that Enscape is a plugin. It's not a separate rendering program. Unlike other rendering programs, you don't exchange files or manually sync models. Enscape natively plugs into Revit and integrates into its interface and your BIM workflow. In many ways, Enscape is simply just another rendering mode. It's not a standalone program you need to learn. In fact, if you've ever added a light source or a texture in your Revit model, you already know how to use Enscape. The results are just easier, faster, and way more impressive. Now, while I'm going to focus today's presentation on Revit, what I show will work the same in SketchUp, Rhino, ArchiCAD, and Vectorworks. After installing Enscape, you'll see a new Enscape ribbon in the Revit interface. To launch Enscape, just go to the Enscape ribbon and click Start. Enscape will launch a new window where you can see your designs fully rendered. Any textures and lights you've set up in Revit will be automatically picked up in Enscape. And using the WASD keys in your mouse, we can immediately begin to explore Revit projects in 3D. To find specific views, use your saved 3D views in Enscape to navigate around the model. Saved views will not only change your view, but will also show any visibility settings you've saved. Because Enscape plugs into Revit, modeling and visualization are now simultaneous. They're not separate. You don't have to stop design to visualize in a separate software. Now, visualization can be part of your Revit design workflow. Any changes you make to your building model are instantly visible. In fact, in many Enscape offices, you'll find the architect with BIM open on one monitor and Enscape open on the other. It allows the designer to instantly see how their design decisions are affecting a building's architecture and construction and get to decision points faster. For example, in this Revit project, if we change this generic wall type to be a storefront curtain wall, we can instantly see how that design decision changes the natural daylighting in the room. And we can even see how that lighting changes over the course of a day. To easily understand how much light is hitting our surfaces, Enscape can render a heat map so we can better understand where we may have too much or too little light. Better understanding the lighting helps us to validate our design decision, and if we're good, we can immediately move on to explore other design elements like color, material, and artificial lighting. For example, from the Revit material browser, we can select a new flooring material from our library and change the flooring from this marble tile to a dark wood plank to better accommodate the natural light now in the space. If we switch to a nighttime scene, we can see the light sources that we've placed and begin to tune the lighting by adding additional light sources and editing the artificial light settings. We can easily change a light's color, intensity, or define a light's value very precisely using an IES file. And because we're always working in Revit, our designs and our visualization are always in sync. For example, if we insert a table and chair grouping in Revit, you can see that they immediately display correctly in Enscape. And if you delete objects, they're deleted in both your design model and your visualizations. So with Enscape, there's only one model, so a change anywhere is reflected everywhere. Streamlining communication is another huge advantage of Enscape. As designers, it gives us new ways to communicate to owners and others on the design and construction teams. With Enscape, we can immerse stakeholders into our projects and walk them through even the most complex BIM models. Team members can get a feel for spaces and see how elements go together and check the qualitative parts of our design. We can perform visual inspections with the team, catching errors that may be missed in plan review and investigating errors caught by automatic clash detection programs. Here, for example, we can see that this window is not placed correctly. If we right-click on the window, we can note the issue in Enscape's new BIM collaboration features. We can quickly define a state, a title, and a description for our issue, and once saved, issues automatically become part of our project file and can be synced to external collaboration tools. Or, because Enscape and Revit are linked, instead of commenting in Enscape, we can easily fix problems like these on the fly by simply updating our Revit model. Another advantage of Enscape in real-time 3D is it will help you win more work. For some clients, the quality of our presentations is a reflection on the quality of your firm. Enscape will help to elevate and distinguish your firm and really set it apart from your competition while allowing your designs to be seen and experienced like never before. For early stage design, when we don't want clients reacting to colors and materials, we can render scenes in one of Enscape's abstract rendering modes. Then, as we go through design, we can gradually layer in more information as needed. With the material set, we can use the families in Revit or the assets in Enscape's asset library to build out our final scenes. New in version 2.9 of Enscape is the ability to create custom assets and the introduction of video textures. We can apply video files as textures to represent any screen or to create effects like fire in a fireplace. If we switch to an exterior scene, you'll notice by default that Enscape automatically adds a sky. In the visual settings dialog, you can control some of these atmospheric settings and effects. For example, we can easily edit the sun's brightness. And there are some fun settings that control how clouds are displayed. For accurate sun studies, we can set a sun's position at a specific latitude and longitude, and then we can animate the sun's path as it moves throughout the sky. As we transition from a day to a night scene, we can also adjust the nighttime sky. Here, for example, we can change the size of the moon and the brightness of the nighttime sky. To give the site some context, Enscape ships with a library of default backgrounds that we can choose from. So we can change our scene from desert to forest, or with a 360-degree camera, we can even go out onto our site and snap a picture and use it as our background. So you can get your actual site as a background for your project. For marketing, we can export still renderings for presentation boards on our website. We can create 360 panoramic scenes that clients can navigate around on their own, and we can create stunning animations and virtual reality projects to really showcase our work. So let's take a look at some of the output that you can get from Enscape 2.9. First, still renderings. We can export stunning 4K still renderings with accurate lighting and materials for really photorealistic presentations. In this scene, you can see that we added a bump and a displacement map to the wood floor texture, so you can almost feel the relief from the flooring. The chair, the couch, the lighting, those are all examples of some of the 2,000 objects that ship as part of Enscape's asset library. And as I mentioned, you can create your own custom assets. You can do this by downloading them from sites like BIM Objects or 3D Warehouse and use those in your scenes. Or you can model your own bespoke assets and use those to render your scene. It works for exterior renderings as well as interior renderings. So our scenes can really tell the story of how our project fits on our site and supports our community. And it works at all different scales, no matter how big the project. Oftentimes in a visualization workflow, Enscape is used with Photoshop to really kind of layer in some detail for that what we call money shot. And to make this easy, when saving out an image file from Enscape, we can also save out material ID maps, an object ID map, and even depth of field maps. So we can make further compositing in programs like Photoshop much easier. We talked a little bit about the 3D panos earlier in my presentation, and to open a 3D pano, what we can do is Enscape can generate what we call a QR code. So if you see that in this particular drawing, there's a QR code in the title block. I'm going to pause just a moment. For those of you who have your phone handy, if you want to just take your phone out, you can snap a picture of that QR code and it'll take you to a link where you can actually visualize this space in 3D. Now I'll show this to you on screen in just a second, but to explain this workflow, I was talking to a gentleman named Bill Carney. He's the BIM manager over at DLR. And what they've started to do is exactly this. They started to embed these QR codes into their plan drawing. So the contractor not only gets all of the plan information that they need to build the space, but they also get these fully rendered views so they can visualize and get a feel for what they're actually building. So if I switch to a web view, you can actually see, for those of you who didn't have your camera, this is actually what would show up in your iPhone or on your tablet by snapping a picture of that QR code. So it's a really nice, I think, interesting workflow that really shows how real-time rendering not only benefits, visualization and presentation, but also the construction process. And lastly, animations. So we can create animations out of Enscape. To create animations like this, we simply define the camera path and set a keyframe to define where we want the camera to look. And then we can adjust the time between those keyframes to speed up or slow down the animations between the frame. Enscape makes creating animations like this very straightforward. By editing different keyframes together, and adding a little music, you could really create some just incredible presentations. And as an example of that, I'd like to show you and share with you our 2.9 release video, which is a really good example. So pretty impressive. And to create that movie that I just showed, it was basically what we did is we just stitched together a few of the different frame animations. In post-production, we did add some text flyouts, as you saw in that video, and then added some transitions between the scenes. But all of the video came from Enscape. So this is a very achievable type of presentation that you could derive from the software. If you're interested in learning more about Enscape and real-time rendering, please visit the Enscape page on the DDS-CAD site or contact your DDS-CAD rep. We're more than happy to take a deeper dive into anything that you've seen here today. And with that, I'd like to open it up to some questions.
Right, perfect. All right, thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's go ahead and see what we've got here. So first question I had received here, is there a quick demonstration of importing background photos?
If you're interested in learning more about the techniques for importing background photos, that's more than something I'm more than happy to set that up for you. I don't have a demonstration set up here in this webinar, but if you just contact your rep, we can go ahead and schedule something for you. But it's a great workflow, and it's really very simple. As I mentioned, it just requires a 360 degree camera. We position that background in the center of the Revit model. And then when we render that, we can use that background image, that 360 degree pano image from the camera as the background image. And I've seen just some incredible presentations done that way. It's a great way for really showing that site context in your final renderings.
Okay, perfect. And then a follow-up to that, how about custom assets? I see
Yes.
the new tab available, but I cannot figure out where to or how to actually edit these assets.
Sure. If you just contact support@enscape.com, we can work through that workflow with you. There's also a great knowledge base article that was written about the custom assets. So it's a new feature that we introduced in version 2.9. So I'm more than happy to help you understand the workflow. I would start with the knowledge base and then also just call support and we can set up a one-on-one web meeting. In regards to support, you know, kind of to expand upon that, you know, we have a very active community of users on our community board, so that's a great place to go for first level support. These guys are using the software every day and can really help you tune your workflows, right? Get the most out of the software. The knowledge base is also an excellent resource. So we update the knowledge base with every release. There's a lot of really good information there that's searchable. More and more, there's some videos. So if you ever Google just how-tos in Enscape, you'll find some great materials by our evangelical users, as well as on the Enscape website, you'll find some getting started videos. And then, of course, with every release, tech support is free. So your DDS CAD rep can provide frontline support. And if you need anything more than that, then we're more than happy to help you.
Okay, great. I did also have someone asking here, what would be a minimum hardware requirement for optimal use?
Yeah, so this is a really great question. So when you're thinking about hardware for programs like Enscape, real-time rendering programs, what you have to recognize is that these programs, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, they take advantage of the GPU, not the CPU. So I'm sure your CPU, if you're running Revit right now, is more than capable of running Enscape, but you'll want to make sure that you have a competent graphics card installed in your machine. I think we could put the system requirements in the chat, Alan, if you have those. If not, I can send those afterwards. But basically what we're looking for is NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 or an AMD equivalent with 4 gigs of VRAM to get started. Let me just see.
Yep, I'm gonna
do you have the link?
Yep, I'll go ahead and put that in the chat.
Yeah, great. And then that's a way to go. Also, I didn't really talk about, in this presentation, we're not really set up to talk about VR, but when we create these immersive 3D experiences that I showed you in the animations and kind of the walkthroughs, all of this can be done with or without VR goggles. So with the system requirements for VR, we recommend an NVIDIA GTX 1080 graphics card with at least 8 gigabytes of RAM or better for a really smooth VR experience. It's another advantage of Enscape, which is how easy it makes it to get into VR. Literally with one click, you can take a Revit model and generate a VR experience from that Revit model. And then the quality of the presentation in VR is, compared to other programs, is really just very good. It's a compliment that we get a lot from our customers, which is the experience that we get, that we deliver in VR is just very, very high fidelity.
Okay, great. And I'm reminded also that we do have some handouts for you guys in the handout section that you can go ahead and grab as well, you know, for some good information there. Okay, next question I had here, Dan, is Enscape enhancing their plantings library? What library do they use as a source?
That's a great question. So we're finding that that more and more landscape architects and landscape designers are making a migration from 2D workflows to 3D workflows, and Enscape's a really great program for that. So yes, we're introducing in our next version 3.0. 3.0 is due out in March. There'll be an expanded vegetation library. So we put a lot of emphasis in that vegetation library. And then I think you'll see over the next subsequent releases additional efforts being put into plants. If you have specific plants that you would like to see, I would encourage you on our message board, there's a feature section, kind of a wish list section, and we would love to make sure that we get your plants that you need for your region in our program. So please take advantage of the message board on our website.
Awesome. Okay, questions keep rolling in. All right, here's the next one. Broad scale, what are things that you can do with custom assets, such as change fabrics, colors, etc.?
Yes, and then create bespoke assets. So, you know, in that there, you might have noticed like in that animation of the cafe, there were like little placards and signs that were branded with the cafe's logo. So the ability to generate a custom asset really it makes the library unlimited. It's a big improvement. So not only can we take the geometry and then we can apply different textures and materials to that geometry to represent the same shape in different ways, different looks, but then we can also just generate completely new objects that don't ship as part of the software.
Got it. Okay. All right. Do you have any other presentations planned for more advanced techniques in Enscape, such as background mapping, custom asset editor, things of that nature?
Yes, I think that you know, intentionally today's presentation was the first that we've delivered this year with you guys, and so I wanted to kind of keep it at a high level. I'm going to be working with the DDS-CAD team to introduce a series of webinars that we can roll out that takes a deeper dive into the how-tos. If you can't wait, again, please contact your DDS-CAD rep. They can set up a special one-on-one demo, and we're more than happy to walk through anything that we shared with you today.
Absolutely. Okay, another question. Is the license per machine or can it be used on multiple machines?
Oh, that's a great question. So the licensing that we have is pretty flexible. So we have fixed seat licensing. So that's where we install the license and it's fingerprinted to the machine. And then we have floating licenses where we can install on as many machines as we want. And then there's a pool of licenses and then you can draw upon that pool. So the licensing system we have is pretty flexible. Another kind of hidden advantage of the licensing is that the one license, Enscape license, can be installed in all of the CAD programs that we support. So if in your office you're using Rhino or SketchUp or Rhino and SketchUp for conceptual design and you're using Revit for production, that one installation, you can install Enscape in Rhino, Revit, SketchUp, and then that license can, as long as it's valid, as long as it's not being used by someone else, you can use it in all of the programs.
Okay, great. One more question I had here. Do you have any video tutorials on how to get started with Enscape?
To get started with Enscape, yes, on our website, under the Learn tab, you'll find some getting started videos. There's also some great sample files that you can download. So in your particular modeling program, we have sample files that you can open up in Revit, and then you can just simply hit start. They're completely built out, so you can begin to experience the software without really having any knowledge at all. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in getting started, to download the trial, go to our site, download the video that's appropriate for your modeling program, and then to download one of the sample files that we ship with.
Okay, perfect. I think that brings us to the end of the questions.
Great, yeah.
All right, so do we have another slide there, Dan?
No, that was all I had. So yeah, I appreciate it.
No problem. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Dan, for the presentation. It was
You're welcome.
great, and we definitely look forward to future presentations with you. Like Dan said, please don't hesitate to reach out to us here at the DDS-CAD team, either by phone at 305-445-6480 or by email at info@ddscad.com for any other questions. You know, if you guys want to talk a little bit more about what what we saw today, get a little bit more of a personalized demo, we're here for you guys as always. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alan. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Have a good rest of your day and remain safe out there.
Bye.